Hello gamers, it's GoldDemon12 back with another Zenless video, and today I will be reporting on why Seth is so pog. Yeah, okay, I'm ditching that. But seriously, Seth is going to be a really good support character, and I don't think people are giving him as much attention as he deserves because he's actually going to be really good for your account overall, right? And there's a lot of things to consider if you're going to build him or use him at all. But basically, if you're running Jane Doe, you pretty much are going to use him regardless, right? He's like the best anomaly support character in the game for the most part, minus a few caveats and practical applications. But I'm gonna talk about that a little bit in this video. It's gonna be similar to my previous video over Jane Doe, it's just talking about theory crafting for the character specifically. Yeah, I want to start off going with what makes Seth stand out and why he's actually really good. So one of the things we have to look at for a defense character is their stats, right? Because they're going to scale off specific stats. And one thing to notice is that he has a 643 attack stat. Why does this matter? Well, all of his abilities scale off attack, and his passive down here for giving a shield also scales off of his attack, right? Up to 3k shield, which is pretty solid for a shielder. I believe Ben's is smaller, but I don't know. His skills on defense, somebody else could correct me on that, but regardless, Seth is going to have a pretty strong shield. And then additionally, his energy regen stat. This is important as characters that are supports really need to get their energy up so they can actually use their, EX ability and apply whatever element or, apply whatever effect they, want to do, right? Every single support character wants to do this. And so having, the built-in energy that you get from levels, which is why you need to level up his core skill, and having a decent attack or an attack scaling character is something you want to see. Now, granted, to be fair, if we do actually compare him to a DPS character, this is probably unfair. Nekomata, she has a way higher attack stat, but I'm just saying 600 is not completely terrible, but it's important to keep in mind of how much attack percent you're going to want on him to actually make use of his shield, right? So that's the number one thing there. For the rest of his kit, the only thing that really needs to be pointed out, besides the fact that he has the anomaly, is the days multiplier. So if you look here, right, for his skill here, or his basic attack and his skill, right, that's not his skill. His skill's down here. It has a really high days damage multiplier. So you see this number right here, 12,075. Jesus Christ, English. It's really high, and if you actually want to compare this to another stunner, right, the one that most people use is Ambi's skill multiplier is actually lower than this at 722. So if you're impressed with Ambi's stuns, well, Seth has a much higher stun multiplier on his full charged skill, right? As well as his basic attacks are also going to have a higher, days multiplier as well, except for Ambi's fourth basic, which beats it out, but that's besides the point. Again, he has really good days multipliers. The problem with this, though, is him not scaling off impact. He's going to have lower impact. So you see his is 40, or his 94. Ambi's is going to be significantly higher because she's a stunner at 136. So there's going to be a bit of a balancing act there in terms of actual stats and how you want to build him. While he does have some good days multipliers, actual stunner is going to have, way better of time of hitting that stun because of the higher base impact stat, right? And then also, we can't forget Ambi's ability of just getting a lot more days percent on her actual EX skill. But again, this is a 64 multiplier versus a 1,200 something days multiplier on the skill, right? So again, you're going to get a lot of value building him because he's going to flex out across so many roles and provide a variety of things to your actual team. In terms of other abilities, though, the main thing that's going to matter here is building up your resolve meter, which you do by doing attacks to actually get your special your hold basic attack off. This is important for activating his quick assist, which is another impressive ability that Seth has, because it will allow you to proc different weapon effects, and as well as get a dash attack in and so on. So this is really important to his overall kit, being able to build up this meter and then use it to do a bunch of stun and proc your quick assist, right? And then past that, again, nothing else is too crazy. You just get X% amount of resolve for doing your different attacks, and as well as your special attack is going to give you a large amount here while also giving you damage reduction while it's charging, right? So it's not going to be too annoying to use, and plus you can actually trial him right now in the story mission with Jane Doe, and he feels pretty good, so nothing to worry about there. But onto the main thing you're going to be using him for is his core ability here. So whenever Seth uses an EX special, he gains a shield called Firm Resolve for 80% of his attack up to 3,000 points, lasting 25 seconds, to be triggered every 10 seconds. Now, the key thing here is the 25 seconds. This 25-second buff is up there with how long Sakaku's buffs last at like M1, right? This is huge, right? Sakaku's last is like, I think it's like 32 seconds, so this is obviously shorter. But when you compare this to other buffers like Rina or Lucy, for example, or even Nicole, who's a debuffer, this buff lasts way longer than them. Now, granted, it's a shield, but the reason why the shield matters is that it also gives you Anomaly Mastery while you have the shield active, right? And this is 100 points of Anomaly Mastery, which is pretty much 100 damage percent for anomalies. So that's very, very strong. And as mentioned in my previous video with Jane, this is giving Jane another like 16% crit for her. And so that's just going to allow you to effectively guaranteed crit on your Jane. So that's going to be really good. But yeah, it's important to keep in mind that his uptime is going to be effectively permanent because it's every 25 seconds. You just swap into him, use another EX skill, boom, you get your shield refreshed, and you've got full uptime on your anomaly proficiency. And so that's just really good overall. Other buffers don't really provide this effective uptime, and Seth having that's a really beneficial ability. And additionally, whenever you do a basic attack, lightning, so this is like your enhanced basic or your assist follow-up or quick assist, you'll get another shield that's the same exact shield, right? So there's other ways to actually proc the shield by doing various effects like a chain attack and so on. So there's a lot of ways to refresh the shield, and because it procs off chain attacks, again, more so you're just going to have 100% uptime no matter what. Really, really good, right, for the shield. And then, as I said, anomaly proficiency, huge for anomaly teams. Now, I'll get into that later, but his main benefit here is that he's going to basically be your off stunner for anomaly teams. So instead of trying to figure out like how do I balance it with, like do I run a stunner? Do I just do like double anomaly? You just put Seth in slot 3, you run your double anomaly, or you do Seth plus another buffer and your anomaly character. So it's going to give some nice flexibility for those anomaly characters because he's doing so much, giving you a shield for that uptime and giving you that anomaly efficiency. And then additionally, this part is really key to how he's helping anomaly characters, is that if you do have a same type ally, so that's going to be lightning allies, or in the same faction, so the police faction, Seth's chain attack or his finishing strike of his basic attack, so it's enhanced basic that he does, is going to reduce the enemy's resistance to all anomaly types. So this is huge because this just means you can proc anomalies faster after he does this once you have this ability proc. So you don't have to have this proc to make him good, but this just makes him even more insane, right? So this is really, really nice for any anomaly-based character because you proc your anomaly faster, right? Like, you can't really compare to that, right? Other characters don't do that. So as far as Mindscapes, the first one isn't really too big of a deal, but it does increase your shield capacity and give you 10 more seconds on your shield for the anomaly effect. So that's pretty nice. Again, he already has really good uptime, but this just makes it even better, right? So I don't really see the point in this, but hey, it's good to have, right? His second dupe, which is going to give you immediate 75% resolve, so you can do a instant, charge basic. And then whenever you hit an enemy with this charged basic, it increases the move's electric anomaly buildup by 35%. So this just means he's going to build it up faster, on top of the fact that he's also reducing the buildup required. So very, very good. Even at base, right? And I need to bring this up because it's important to the video. Even at base, and I mentioned this a bit in the last video, his increase of anomaly proficiency is on par, if not better than what Rina is doing overall, and he's going to have better uptime than Rina in those teams. So he kind of replaces Rina in anomaly teams. Now, granted, we can talk about in terms of practical application how much stats you're going to have, because with Grace specifically, Grace is going to have, with her weapon, built-in penetration. She's going to have penetration ratio on her weapon, and so when you stack multiple sources of defense penetration, it actually becomes really, really strong. And so with Rina and Grace together, that defense penetration with her weapon is going to be arguably better than that. However, in every other scenario, if you're proccing like Disorder, right, even though Rina in this case is going to give you, let's just say you have the full 10 seconds of Disorder because of the extension that Rina gives versus what Seth is going to do, right? Let's just assume you're going to be sitting at, and I'll just make it fair. Let's do Grace's values. So if we do a 29, wait, oh, I'm forgetting the math off the top of my head. 29, so 50, 53%. This is like brace plus arena with 300 EM. You can see that the shock disorder is going to be here, and this is if you make use of the full 10 seconds. I'm just assuming you take 3 seconds to actually proc your physical anomaly. Again, this will vary, but I'm just giving an example here. It's going to be this number at 500 something thousand, right? But if we take away the pin ratio and we go her back to 24, and then we go up to and do a 400 AP, you can see Seth is actually going to cause you to do more anomaly damage. Oh, my bad. I forgot to change the seconds. You can see there's obviously a drop off in damage, but if you think about it, you no longer have to swap back into arena. And so having that better uptime means you can make more use of other characters in the team, right? And so Seth is competing with Rina a lot in that role, given that you are specifically using Grace as their weapon. Without the weapon, it's a different story. Seth kind of wins out in a lot of scenarios. Now, this just depends on the actual application. And I know this is getting really wordy, but I'm just saying, like, it's all going to depend on the in-game application and what each character is going to provide you, right? Seth having the full uptime means you can have better uptime on the actual primary attacker and not have to swap back into the character, right? And so, yeah, he's giving you a lot of benefits that are competitive with other supports in the same role that he would, have, right? And so if we go into the fourth ability, he's going to get increased days buildup on his defensive assists. Nothing too crazy, but it's nice to have. And then on his sixth ability, you're going to get a, with your enhanced basic attack, right? You're going to get an additional multiplier of 500% attack. That's going to be a guaranteed crit, and you get 60% crit damage. So he's going to do a lot of damage just flat out by himself, just by slotting him on the team, right? Because he just has it all built in. So this is huge to have, even on teams that are anomaly focused, because here's the thing. You give your crit DPS 100% anomaly from your stunner. Well, now that crit DPS, if they're physical or ice, right, is going to have, their anomaly proc hit, harder, right? Because it's got that extra damage percent. So that's a really good ability from Seth. And again, hopefully this helps you understand why he's so like impactful and like why he's valuable, because he's doing all this stuff. He's competing with a 5-star for the same role, if not better in a lot of cases, and so on, right? And while specifically for shock distortion, it probably won't beat out Rina, just for, as an example. If we were to go in for the raw actual damage, right, you can see that if we just were to add in another, again, it's 29%, but we add 29% for this AP amount, your assault damage, like if it's Jane Doe, for example, or Piper, is going to be, 200,000. If we remove that and we add in another, 100 anomaly proficiency, you can see it's 230,000, right? So you're getting a 30,000 damage increase over what would be running Rina with better uptime and so on, right? So you can see there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to use Seth, because he's just really good and provides a lot of value for a variety of teams. But specifically, that anomaly team is going to be really good for boosting their damage and just in terms of viability and uptime, right? It's going to be really nice. Now, there is another problem with Seth, besides the fact that his impact stat might not be there, so numbers might be deceiving. It's actually going to be the fact that weapon options for defense characters are completely screwed. So Seth being an attack scaling defense character means he basically has no weapon options outside of his own, right? So you can see his own that's going to be on the weapon banner is going to give you a large amount of attack and attack percent, as well as give you energy regen, which is what he wants to actually proc his ability, and then also give you anomaly buildup on EX special and assist follow-up, right? So this is exactly what he wants to do. The problem with this is whenever you go to any other special weapon, also I'm covering the screen so I don't accidentally show a leaked weapon, is that on this one, right? Guess what? HP, lower attack. We don't even care about it. Boom, this one, attack defense percent. We don't even care about this one either, right? This one, the Battle Pass one, this one is actually kind of viable, but it's not going to be better than a Sig because this requires you to be hit to get energy regen for, X amount of time versus the flat energy regen of the other one. So this is just going to be worse straight up. We've got big cylinder, this is bins. Again, this isn't doing anything for Seth, it's pure defense. We've got a 3-star that's just, again, pure defense. And then the other 3-star, which is again just pure feet defense. So Seth, in terms of weapons, is kind of screwed, which is the main unfortunate thing about him. So like while I'm gassing him up and we're talking about like all these benefits to him, you won't have a weapon that's going to be good on him. So your shields are going to be a bit lower. Your anomaly damage is going to be lower 100% because anomaly skills of attack. You don't have that attack percent. You're just flat out of luck, right? So maybe consider doing like a single or like a multi if you do want to maximize what Seth is doing. I'm not necessarily recommending it because again, weapon banner is very rough to summon on if you're free to play because you won't have the summons, but it's gonna be really good for Seth specifically in your overall damage for actual anomaly procs, right? So that's something to keep in mind. And so as for gear, because I should have left it. I talked about this earlier in the other video. For gear, you've got a couple options. I would say if you're trying to maximize the actual shock anomaly, you're gonna want to do the Thunder Metal one, at least the 2-piece, because you won't have full uptime if you're doing distortion on the 4-piece, right? But the 2-piece is gonna be good for that. Otherwise, Freedom Blue is gonna be really good because it's gonna give you anomaly proficiency. Whenever you use an EX special, you reduce anomaly buildup to that attribute by 20% for 8 seconds. The reason why this is good is Seth has a multi-hit EX special. And so if you go in with the EX special on Seth running this 4-piece and he's already reducing it by 20%, you're now reducing it by an additional 20%. So you're getting a 40% reduction for electric anomaly buildup. He's gonna apply shock really, really fast. So this 4-piece is gonna be great on him. Other than that though, you can do a generic 2-piece with Hormone Punk, or you can do something like Shocker Disco to try to get his base up, right? Stuff like Swinging Jazz works as well, but reminder, if you don't have this on another character, then run the 4-piece, right? So like in the Jane Doe team, for example, if you don't have another character with 4-piece Jazz, you can put it on Seth and you'll get that nice damage bonus, right? That's probably what I recommend doing. So yeah, you've got quite a bit of options for the sets. And if you're somebody else who just wants to run Seth main DPS, go ahead, build him the crit set. You got it. His numbers are solid, right? Again, 4,000 multiplier is actually higher than Ellen's multiplier, but she's got built-in stats, though. You're going to be facing competition, but Seth will be doing some pretty solid damage no matter how you build him. I would definitely recommend, though, going the anomaly setup. So you build him with the 2 anomaly stats, proficiency, mastery, and shock damage, right? You could alternatively, like I said, do impact percent if you want his stun to go higher, or of course energy recharge if you just want to make sure he's spamming his skill as much as possible because you like that, right? I don't think that's necessary, but those are options for how you would build Seth right there to actually benefit your team overall. Let's see. Before I hop in the teams, is there anything else I possibly missed about why Seth is like insanely good and why I'm delaying him so much? He has a cat in his M6. Look at that little guy. I don't know. I think that covers everything with base Sam. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. Chat's not saying anything, so there's probably nothing else. Ooh, I accidentally showed the weapon. Oh well, is what it is. All right, time to talk about teams. Because again, overall teams, it's gonna be pretty much the same as my previous video of Jane Doe when we talked about it, because that's Seth's main goal. He's gonna be buffing those anomaly teams, right? And as we already covered, in a 1-to-1 comparison with just base stats, he's beating out like Rena and straight up for like the damage. However, if you stack enough penetration, she's gonna be better, and also with the whole like shock distortion thing, right? So again, it's gonna depend on setup. I would definitely say Seth, at least for me, in my opinion, and what I've seen, analyze, he's just gonna replace Rena outright for the most part. But in the most practical use of him, it's gonna be an anomaly team. So you've got your disorder team, right, with Jane Doe here. And in fact, let me get an MS Paint going on here. It's not MS Paint. I'm gonna get Snippet. So you've got your like main team right here with Jane Doe and Seth. Terrible art, guys. Holy! As an art student, you should be ashamed. You've got your main team here with Jane Doe, Seth, and Grace. This is gonna be probably your best option for her as of right now. Of course, you have the alternative option of running her with Nekomata, which is going to be a pretty solid option, right? You could do this. Granted, if you run Nekomata, you could run a different like buffer, but this would be a pretty solid option as a team as well. Alternatively, in the future, you could summon for Bernice, or Bernice, I don't know how to say her name, and get synergy there between these three. This is going to look awful by the end of this, but you could do something like that. I do think Bernice is going to have better teams outside of this, but this is going to be something that you would do. I wouldn't necessarily run him with Caesar because that's kind of conflicting kits right there. They both are defensive units who do like whatever. But again, same thing applies with like doing Seth on top of a Jane Doe core and team, right? Like you could extend this out to it's the same idea as using Nekomata, right? You just extend out the team to using Corrin, Billy, plus Jane plus Seth, right? It's the same sort of scenario, right? Seth 3 into Sakagu also good. No. That's like triple support. I would not run that, and they also don't even like fully buff each other. But yeah, something like this is how you're pretty much gonna run Seth. Of course, let's not forget to mention that Piper is gonna be another very strong option by running, Seth plus Piper plus Jane Doe. You could just do full on assault, or of course you could do the same thing where you run Grace in the team and get the actual proc off, right? Past that though, if you, let's say, don't have Jane Doe for whatever reason, you could theoretically put Seth plus Lucy plus Piper. It's not going to be as much overall damage, clearly, because you're not getting the added benefit of the crits, but it's going to be pretty good. Alternatively, this is not going to be the most recommended one. I did mention it in the other video. You could theoretically do him plus Ching Yi and then Jane Doe for like the highest nuke damage. But this isn't necessarily like optimal because that eats up Jane Doe's field time with another stunner unit, right? And so it's mostly going to be a combination of Seth plus Jane Doe and then whatever other unit you want is for the most part. Seth, Nicole, Ambi would be nice too. If you're trying to maximize Seth's damage, sure, you could do that. But outside of that, it's not going to be that crazy. But allowing yourself to do like a big nuke with Seth's guaranteed crit, yeah, you could probably do something like that. But that's not how I would say is necessarily like his best way to run him. If you're a psychopath, though, you could do that. And when Caesar is gonna work completely differently, I'll tell you that right now. It's a flexibility choice over Seth. And in fact, if we do pull this up again, if you're wondering why I crossed out Caesar for anybody watching this video, they're pretty much interchangeable. So like Seth is gonna be really good, but realistically you can swap them and it does the exact same thing, right? So instead of running Seth, you run Caesar. They're gonna be kind of interchangeable in terms of like it affects all these other teams, right? But yeah, it's gonna depend on whatever setup you're doing. And the main one that I would recommend is definitely Jane Doe plus Seth plus whoever else you intend on running, primarily being Grace. And it is, I mean, it's like, here's the thing. I have to rub this in. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. But I did actually predict, a certain something happening on tier list here with a certain character, right? And Seth is just driving that home, right? Seth is going to be really good. He's going to replace a couple people, but he's going to just be a solid character to actually invest in too. Is there anything else that I missed? Because I think that kind of covers everything. He's going to be really solid and provide you some very nice buffs. Yeah, I just like the last Jane Doe video. I hope this helps anybody trying to look at these characters, right? I do actually prefer like having these videos talking about them more. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, what you were actually just yapping in chat, bro. Stop it with the like triple stunners. Like what? You're actually just yapping, bro. I can't. Oh my god. I actually, you know what? Here, I am gonna mention it because I mentioned in the last video. If you do days in reverse order, you'll have less damage. Or sorry, disorder in the reverse order, you'll have less damage. So if Fizz is on the enemy first, you'll do less damage. Now, granted, it clears the buff whenever you do it, so it's not that big a deal. But I'm just saying, it's like this is something to keep in mind that if you see your distortion damage lower than you thought it would be, it's probably because you did it in reverse order, which is why disorder team with two of the like other elements, the dot elements, is going to be like stronger in a lot of cases, right? I just thought I'd point that out, that dot element disorder is going to be like stronger for like net damage on that. They can't hurt you if they're permanently stunned. You know what? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitch. And again, hopefully this helps you guys with understanding like why Seth is gonna be actually really, really potent across the board, and it will not be an L character. The last thing I'm gonna say about him is that he has a charge blade, so he's cool. A million plus aura purely for having a charge blade. So yeah, see you guys later.